Greetings, how are you? This is Tyra Omilade, your goddess guru, your sister friend, and I love helping women align with their life purpose using the power of ancient wisdom and the goddess centered lifestyle. And I wanted to come on and talk a little bit about the P. Diddy trial. Um, I'm not super big into I'm just trying to make sure my microphone is correct. I'm not super big in I keep up with what's going on in the news. That's how I qualify what I'm saying. I don't wanna feel like I'm doing gossipy stuff. I see the world through the lens of astrology, and so, yeah, I was like, "What in the world is going on?" Because everybody's starting to make videos about everything that's happening with, Sean Combs. And so I thought, what is going on? I just heard somebody read a letter that he, I guess, sent to the judge because the judge isn't playing with him and yeah. I did a video, I think it was in the spring when the trial was happening. And I pretty much thought he needed to prepare to spend a significant time in jail. And then he got acquitted. I want to look at that timeline. And I was kind of like, well, maybe I was wrong. But after hearing what's going on today, I felt like he wasn't gonna get out this fall, at the very least, but it sounds like he is gonna get a more substantial, sentence. And so what I wanna show you all is when I wanna know what's going on with someone, a lot of times, I coach people or they get a reading with me. There are things I can listen to and my intuition and my inner wisdom. It's like, oh, I can use that to address it and talk to the person about it and help them to navigate what they're asking about. But then there are other times when I'm like, we need to look at your astrology because that's going to tell us more than likely what the outcome is going to be. Why are things so off? And so I wanted to do that and show y'all how astrology works. So this is his chart, and we can see here he has a Virgo moon, and I think this chart is correct. It looks correct. I'll say it that way. I've had it here in my system, so I can't remember if this was accurate, but everything that's happening to him um, seems to be on point. Ah, man, I'm not recording. I think that this is not accurate. So I have set his sun sign up to be on the first house. Okay, so that lets me know. But still, there's something I'm gonna show you where it's kind of like I just think it's on point. So, first and foremost, he is a Scorpio. Now, this timeline, when this started happening, um, when Cassie in November of 2023 filed that lawsuit, that was around the time that we were experiencing eclipses in Scorpio. Okay. And so he has a sun in Scorpio, he has Mercury in Scorpio. And I was like, whoa. The eclipses bring about fated events, they bring about change. And there's a part of the eclipse that is purging and releasing. There's another part of the eclipse that's taking you in a new direction. And so he had the harder part. Oh, he also has Neptune there. He had the harder part in he had the harder part here in his Scorpio house, which is, a very important house. It's draining, it's purging, it's releasing, it's letting go, it's creating a reset. And so Cassie filed that lawsuit. And then the next significant okay, so that's that. He also potentially has this moon in Virgo. And we'll kind of know, is the moon in Virgo or not for him. It doesn't actually really matter. It's either going to be in Virgo or Leo. It's just a lot of harder things coming because the eclipses also have been here in this Libra house, purge and release and let go. So those started around 2023 into 2024, even to the top of this year. And now the eclipses are in Virgo. They go into Leo next. So no matter what, he just has planet after planet after planet that's being purged, released, and let go. Okay. So yes. Mm-mm-mm. Um, Let me see what else do I want to tell y'all. So I decided outside of the eclipses, first and foremost, I think that's playing a big role. Um, he also has Mars. So when I looked at his chart today, this is what made me say, I need to look and see what's going on. So he has Mars here in Scorpio. And that's a great thing a lot of times. But Mars is very harsh. It can create things that feel very hard. Mars is about war and retribution too, you know? This is not the planet. I don't think this is the planet I would want to have in my first house or in Mars right now, if I have a legal proceeding happening. Um, it's already gone across his the Mercury is getting close to the sun, and this thing is, yeah, it's sort of harsh, even though it's the planet that rules these planets because Mars governs Scorpio. I think that that's bringing some harshness, and also his Saturn, who the two, what am I trying to say? They're negative planets. They're hard, malevolent planets. Hmm. They have recently interacted. So it's just when you have a planet interact with one of your planets, it creates energy. It sets off a series of some sort of actions. So if, say, for instance, Venus had come through here before, or Venus was right here right now, it wouldn't be so harsh. It sounds like this judge is going to be really strict on him, but it's Mars interacting with Saturn. Saturn is karmic, and it is, you know, like, hey, you're gonna, whatever you did, you're gonna get payment for it. It's strict. It's all about following rules, and yeah, that's tough to have these two planets interacting right before the sentencing. And I think that Mars coming through is kicking a lot of it off. So that's happening. So there's this um, technique that we use in astrology, and it is called decennials. And what the decennials are is 10-year periods, 10-year, 9-month periods. And there's a planet that will govern you for that 10 years and 9 months. It's the greater cycle because that's astrology. And just using the birth time that I chose for him, it puts him in a Mars sub period. And or excuse me, major period. And that happened starting October 22nd, October 27th, 2022, and it lasted for 15 months, okay? And so Mars is a harsh planet. A lot of times when people have a Mars major period, it's gonna feel rough, and when you have a Saturn major period, oh, and he has them one right behind the other, it makes me like, this is gonna be hard. I mean, I'm in a Saturn sub period, so I can't really talk about anybody. It's hard. Everyone who I do this technique for, if they have Mars or Saturn, especially Saturn, it's not fun. So then the next one, oh, looking at this timeline, you can see Cassie filing the lawsuit November 16th, 2023. That was the first one. And then the next sub period. So each Major period is broken into sub-periods that are ruled by each of the signs. And so the next sub-period for him is Saturn, and that transit lasts for 30 months. And look at that. Saturn took over January 2024. That's what's in charge now. And what happened in 2024? Well, first of all, the video came out of what he did to Cassie. And then in September, he was arrested. Okay. So Saturn is coming through. Saturn is being, karmic. And he's still under that Saturn sub period. And I couldn't remember what he was convicted of, but we can see here 2 counts of these offenses, and then he got cleared of the higher offenses. And, so now it's time for him to get that sentencing, and that's the period that he's in. Now he's gonna go into a moon period after this, which is easier. Um, it actually goes in this order. He'll go into a moon period, and then he'll go into a Jupiterian period. Now, once he gets to that Jupiter and that Venus, let's see, when is that gonna be? So uh, something may change for him next year in July, but then when he gets to Jupiter, that's gonna last for a year. So, well, the moon lasts for 2 years, and then Jupiter is in 2028. It'll last for 2 years, 12 months, excuse me. And that might bring him some good turn of events could potentially happen for him. And then Venus is right after it. Mercury and the Sun, I don't see people struggling with those sub periods either. But that Saturn sub period is not over until July 2026. And it is for that reason that I really do think that this is why I'm hearing the judge is not playing with him. His team is throwing all kinds of stuff at the wall to, you know, try to get him a new trial, get him, I don't know what he's trying to do, but, just like try to change the results of what's happening. And I just don't think that that's what's going to happen. Now, I'm a softie, and, I have to hang out with people who are realists. But hearing his letter made me think, well, maybe he is changing. I mean, I used to work in drug and alcohol abuse services, and to hear that he's been on drugs of some sort for 25 years is so sad. It's so sad. And he's saying he's, clean and sober. And I know he's saying everything he needs to say to get out, but, um, he's, I don't know. It sounds like he's doing things to help people inside the prison, and, you know, doing his best to make a change. Um, and man, so, sometimes when I do readings for people and I see this kind of astrology, it's kind of like, wow, I don't want to tell you this, but I think when people hear you're just energetically in a really challenging time, then they stop thinking, "Oh, something's wrong with me," or "I'm cursed. I did something bad to attract this." I mean, karmically, we do have to take responsibility for whatever we have done. But a lot of times it's not that kind of thing happening. It's just people might be struggling in career or relationship and just need to know it's not you. It's it's the energy that you're in right now, and you have to learn how to manage it. And one thing I will say is in his letter, of course, he's going to be sounding like he's taking responsibility, but he did in the letter. And that's what Saturn wants you to do. Saturn is always like, "Hey, take responsibility for what you did, and whatever's hard, you got to lean into it." So, yeah, I feel bad for everybody who is a victim of him, on the spiritual level. It sounds like in some kind of way things have been so off, and I feel bad for him in that regard. Definitely not making any excuses for what he's done, but I always say people who live like that, they cannot be happy. It's got to be really bad. And here lately, I'm just like, this show business seems to corrupt people, hollow them out at their humanity, compromise their values. It's a really sad thing. Maybe not everybody, thank goodness, but a lot of people, I think, end up like Sean Combs. Great talent, could have done the right thing from the beginning, but then all that power just went to his head. Didn't have good ego development to begin with, and now he's having to do a reset in his life. Um, Let me pull up one more thing. What is this called? Perfected. Oh, I know what I can do because I look at this pretty regularly. Can you see this? Okay. If how when was he born? Okay, I thought he's 1 year older than me. So if I'm 55, well, he's still 55. Um, so this is another technique I love to use. Actually, I created a course on this, so hopefully some of y'all were able to get it in that free bundle. But he's still 55. Oh my God. 55 is what is called an eighth house year. So each age is related to a house in the astrological wheel. You know how the wheel goes around? Like for um, P. Diddy, here's the first house, the second house, third, so on and so forth. Okay. And so each house is associated with a certain age or certain ages. Okay. And whenever you're in that particular perfected year, the theme of your year will be associated to the theme of that house. And when you're age 55, you're in what is called an eighth house perfected year. We see Sean Combs is 55. And so that is a very hard year. If you think back to maybe when you were 7, 19, 31, 43, 55, and if anyone here is older, 67. I don't think I got any if I have a 79-year-old watching, let a sister know. For real, let me know if a 91-year-old is watching. But anywho, think back to those years, and were they hard years in some kind of way? Yeah, when I look at all of those, I'm like, "Oh my god, those were some of the hardest years of my life," because the 8th house is a really hard year. It is hard, it's messy. He talked about being on drugs and he needs mental health, help, and he was working on his anger issues. That 8th house is bringing a transformation and psychological healing and healing of the wounding, like people who are, dealing with addictions. It could be a year if they allow it for the addictions to help them. Now, the other thing is when you get into an eighth house year, it's a year where, um, you know, if you haven't been trying to get help, it can make everything crash and burn for all the things that we're doing that it's kind of like, I shouldn't do this. So let's see here. When did he get picked up? So he got arrested right before his birthday. So that eighth house year was pretty close at that point. Seventh house year is actually a year that has to do with court cases. Um, let's see here. 24 was 7, 23 was 6. So in 2023, when he was sued by Cassie, He was in the sixth house year. The sixth house year is another really hard year. And then 24 would have been a seventh house year, the majority of it until he got to his birthday, because the perfected year goes from your birthday to your next birthday. So he gets arrested in the seventh house year, which has to do with court cases. And then he, is going through the trial and everything in the eighth house year, and still in his eighth house year with the sentencing coming up. So then when he goes into that ninth house year, it may feel, he might be more spiritual. Something will happen where, I suspect he'll still be in prison. Um, yeah, it's like, first of all, I think luck could be on his side. He does have Jupiter and Venus right there together. He has lucky energy in his chart for real. Um, but yeah, something could happen and he's more open and growing, and it's kind of like he's accepted what has happened, and but he's going to make the most of it. He's going to be optimistic and positive, and you know and then, he'll go to his 10th house year. Let's see, 57, 58. So 56, 57, 58. Mm, pretty good. Only thing about 58 is he starts getting to his Saturn return, which the Saturn return the second time around is a little bit better. But when we're just using this perfected chart, 56, 57, 58 will be better years. And then 59 is a hard year. The 12th house year, whenever you're in the 12th house year, it's pretty hard. Okay, I will stop here. I hope that you have gotten something from this and learned a little bit more about how astrology works. And, you know, I, as a spiritual person, have to wish everybody the best. So I wish him all the best. I wish healing to everyone who has been negatively impacted by Sean Combs. All right, y'all take care. May the blessings of the goddess and the ancestors be upon you and yours now and always. Peace and love.